Next up on the number one tee.
Well, hello and welcome back. I am your co-host and your host, Tori Totless. I'll tell you, I've actually been pretty good at opening the show. I'm about 8 episodes in, and I just nosedived on that one.
Yeah, you did. But you still got the hello.
I'm here today with Tara Bateman. Hi, Tara.
Hello.
How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Thanks for being on. I appreciate it. And Michael Martin. Hi, Michael.
Hi.
So today we're going to do a show all about being a caddy, an inside look on being a caddy. But first and foremost, we got to check in on everyone's golf game. So Tara, what's going on with your golf game right now?
There's probably more dust in the clubs than there has been over the last year, but that's okay.
Well, tell everyone why though. What's going on?
I got a new job where I actually have to work.
Bummer.
I know. No, it's good. Trying to carve out some time, so get back on Valley team at the end of the month. Played Papago, but I was a quitter because it started raining and I don't do rain. And
I still feel like that should count though. You handed in your scorecard. So you were there.
I got it adjusted.
You were there. It was a little rain. I mean, it was sprinkling down rain. Yes. And, we melt in Arizona when rain comes. So Tara was like, I'm out.
Yep. So I played well, except for the bunker.
Oh.
There's a lot of sand in those bunkers right now.
Well, and it's tough because sometimes we're complaining that there's not enough sand. But it's weird. It's a very
Papago went from no sand to a lot of sand.
And it's like thick.
Yes.
Yeah,
I had
got to get used to it.
3 plug balls. It was just super
Brutal.
happy.
That's fun.
Brutal.
Yeah.
That's fun. How do you like a plugged ball in the bunker?
That's terrible. Especially fairway bunkers. If there's
No, it was a fairway, thank goodness.
Yeah.
You mean greenside?
Yes, greenside bunker. It was.
Yeah, no, I'm sure a couple swear words were said.
Yeah, pretty much. But
you want to get your number of plays in at Papago by January 30th because, we have.
Are we playing you?
Yes.
Oh, then I can't miss it. No,
you can't. See, I thought this whole time you knew for sure that's what we were doing. I have it circled on my schedule. Molly and I are going to be there. Oh, really?
What's
Miss
this?
Brown is
Oh,
going
yeah,
back.
good. So ladies league. So we have an interclub league that brings together 9 different clubs around the valley, and we play 8 different matches. We don't play on our home course. And so I'm a member of Arizona Country Club. So we're playing against Papago, where she belongs, that day at Paradise Valley.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Do you like Paradise Valley? Of course.
Never played there.
You haven't?
Never played there, no.
Do you like it?
I like the range because they have the molar tees, so my pockets might be full.
You take a full handful of molar tees.
Make sure they get their quota for the year.
What do you think of the course? Because I used to not like it as much, but I'm starting to play it better and better. So of course I like it a little bit more now than I used to.
I think it can get a little bit mundane, but then you keep getting those mountain views where you like hit it and you're like, oh, I smoked it because it's against the mountain, and then it just like drops and you're like, yeah, it really didn't go that far.
It does have some beautiful views.
Yeah, it does for sure.
So Michael, what's going on with your golf game right now?
And I don't get to play much right now. I'm working so much, but the way I get my golf fixed, I go to the range maybe 3 days a week for about an hour.
Yeah.
And then I actually have a net in my place, and I hit like wiffle balls into that. So I try and hit like balls for about an hour a day, working on with a guy from Elite Golf, Riley Andrews.
Okay.
Really good for about 2 months, and feel like my swing's getting better. So that's kind of my golf game.
Is there something specific that you're working on that you can kind of explain, or not really?
Probably not. Just trying to get more consistent.
Yeah.
And
well, aren't we all?
Yeah.
What's the best part of your game?
I'd say my short game, chipping and putting. Yeah.
I did hear that your nickname is the Wizard.
Yes.
Because of your short game
That's
skills.
True. That's what Adam nicknamed me. Yep.
The Wiz.
Yep.
So, but you're a caddy right now at Silverleaf Country Club.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does it look like this time of year? How many rounds a day are you doing, or what does your busy season look like for you time wise?
Just with the time, we only get about one loop in a day.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the sun. And from now until probably end of April, it's gonna be slammed.
Just every day.
Probably, yeah, 6 days a week.
Do you have a regular?
Yeah, you got some regulars, and then waste management week. People, this can be super busy, like double shotguns and people bringing guests. So,
in that scenario, will you go both shotguns? You think
that one you will? Yeah. Yep.
Okay, well, let's just dive right into it because actually that was a question I was going to ask Tara about regulars. So, okay, you're a caddy at Silverleaf Country Club. How often do you have a regular that you loop for?
Probably for me, 2-3 days a week.
Yeah.
And then the other maybe 2 or 3 you get to sign with a member.
And why do you think that they get a caddy every time?
I think, ultimately I think it's about kind of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about you become friends with these members and they enjoy hanging out with you. I mean, they can do all the things that we do,
Mm-hmm.
but you just add to that group the fun. So
You don't think that you help, like, you go out there every day, right?
yeah.
That you might have an advantage on the greens, and it's like a safety net, right? Like,
that's true. But I guess at the end of the day, I always look at, I play a lot of competitive golf, and what I'm looking for, and I think you caddied on the LPGA
Mm-hmm.
tour, what that person's looking for is different than maybe a 10 handicap that's playing at a club. I think I could be wrong, but I always think their number one goal is fun. So if the caddy makes them enjoy their round more, that's what they want. Now you could be the best caddy in the world, but if they're like, man, I do not want to
Mm-hmm.
hang out with this person, the club caddy is going to be like, hey, I don't want him.
Yeah.
But if it's a tour caddy, they're going to be like, hey, they're reading the greens amazing and they're getting it done for me. So it's a little different. But I definitely obviously know the greens better than the members and can help them strategy and all that stuff.
especially like tournaments, right?
100%.
Like, because they want to lean on somebody, right? They don't want to be out there and whatever advantage they can have. Because let's be honest, like they all, not they all, but a lot of the guys play for extra cash, right? On the side. And so it's like whatever advantage they can have, even if it's like they're in between a 6 and a 7, you're like, what do you think? And you're like, try to talk them in and give them confidence. And then they hit this good shot. Like, the more money they make, they usually tip you a little bit better too. So So it's that confidence thing.
But I gotta back you up for a second here because you said a 10 handicap index is just out there to have fun compared to you, the tournament player. What, you're not out there having fun anymore, Michael?
I'm friends with Adam Malicki, you know what I mean? He's not there to have fun. I think everyone plays for different reasons. And I found out for me, I have fun taking it serious.
Yeah.
Like if my friends who aren't golfers want to play golf, I'm like, I feel like, no, I don't want to play with you. I'd rather, go hiking or pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm playing golf, it's fun for me to take it serious.
Yeah.
And try and get really good compared to like, for me doing like the hit and giggle.
Yeah.
That's not my gig. So
I appreciate that answer. I've never heard it explained like that. And I think I'm probably lean more that way too, where it's more fun for me to be competing and to be serious than to just go out with no goal or any,
It's never been a job for you guys.
Yeah. So wait, okay. So I do want to get into like the simple things of what a caddy's job is and everything. But Tara, will you introduce yourself formally and what you did in your past life?
Yeah, for sure. Tara Bateman, born and raised here in Arizona. So of course, at the time I went to Xavier High School because it was the golf mecca of Phoenix. So I played golf there, got a scholarship to Baylor University, played 4 years at Baylor University. Was going to stay an amateur and went out and played some state opens and was very successful. So my coach said, turn pro, qualified for LPGA school finals on my first time. And then there was that long, at the time, I'm so old, I qualified in September and I didn't have finals until December. So being out of college for the first time with no responsibilities and no job, I really screwed off between September, October, November. Mm-hmm. Didn't make final stage. Went out and played on the Futures Tour. Again, dating myself because it's gone through like 3 name changes since then. It's the Epson Tour. And was mildly successful, kind of was tired of traveling, came back here. The Cactus Tour was starting in Phoenix, played on the Cactus Tour. Was like, you know what? I'm halfway decent on the Cactus Tour. Let's go back out to the Futures Tour. Went back out there. Was successful again, almost got my top 10, got my card, didn't make the top 10. So went back to Q school, Didn't make it, got a friend through Q school, and they said, do you want to caddy for this year? So I caddied on the LPGA tour with the intent to go back to Q school. So I let the player know, hey, I gave him a hard date. I'm going to stop here. Gave a hard date of when I wanted to stop caddying, came back, grinded it out, made it back to final stage again with Q school. Didn't make it again. It's like the story of my life. So I got a call as soon as I didn't make it, and went to started caddying. So I caddied full time that next year on the LPGA for Sherry Turner, and then I got an opportunity to caddy for Megan Francella overseas. And so I started caddying for Megan. We were successful overseas, and I continued to caddy for Megan through the end of the year. She had won that year against Annika in Mexico. I was not on her back then, but I got her in some big tournaments. We had a big win against Lorena Ochoa when she was number one in a match play tournament. So that was all fun. And then the next year we parted ways. I can't remember who I caddied for next year. It might've been Elena Sharp for a little while. And then then I dabbled with Marcy Hart, Marcy Newton, good amateur. I was successful out on the LPGA a little bit. Then started caddying for Brittany Lincecum. Caddied for Brittany Lincecum for the end of one year, started the next year. I told her, or in my mind, I was going to quit after the LPGA Kraft Nabisco. Kraft Nabisco came and happened, and we won it, jumped in the pond. So I told
oh my gosh, how fun.
Yeah. So I told my job, by the way, I'm not coming in, and continue to caddy for Brittany for the remainder of that year. For the most part, we parted ways just after we were overseas, and then started working here full time at a print shop, and then got a call from Atahara Munoz the year after she won Rookie of the Year, and went out and caddied for her for a year, and then called it quits because I wanted to start a family. So got pregnant, and here I am.
Wow.
Whirlwind. But a lot of caddying, a lot of overseas. Sorry. I don't know if you wanted that in depth, but you got it.
No, I love it.
Diarrhea of the mouth.
I love it. I love it. And so what did you love about that time of, I mean, it sounds like a ridiculous amount of travel.
Yeah.
It sounds fun, and you're seeing all these different places, and what did you love most about caddying, and what was the tough part about it?
What I loved most was still being out there. I knew I wanted to play, I wanted to be, but golf was my identity, and I didn't know how to transfer into anything else. So I still got to make a living, and be around golf and be there every day. Something I didn't know at the time, but I see now. I saw the world. I saw some incredible golf courses, because when you're on the LPGA, you're not just going overseas to play, anything. You're playing golf courses with history, and you're caddying at golf courses with history. And I think the camaraderie and the friendships that you make, even though I was a caddy, I still knew a lot of the players and got to know some of the players. And when I started dating my wife, she's like, "What are you doing?" And I took a picture, and I was like, "Here, take a picture." And I was sitting at a bar with Christina Kim, and Christina Kim's like, "Oh, come here." And she shoved me right in the middle of her boobs. And so I was like, just snuggling up to Christina Kim, I guess, like.
It's a way to win her over.
Yeah. But like, my wife came out, and we were staying at a house, and all of a sudden Meg Mallon and Betsy, and her partner, Beth Daniels, walks in the house, and we all sit down and have dinner together like a big family. And Beth Daniels was my wife's favorite player growing up. And he's like, "I can't believe you're doing this." So living a life to me was normal, but like to other people, it was like, is this really happening right now? And so it was like, that kind of was like, oh, I'm part celebrity, but I'm really nothing. I was just a caddy, but I was friends, because I had played on the Futures Tour. I was friends with players that were still out there. Mm-hmm. And they still saw me as a player and knew I was a player, not just a caddy at the time. So, but caddies kind of do get a bad rep, but they also can give themselves a bad rep out there. So,
well, what do you mean? What do you mean give a bad rap? Like
Caddyshack jumping in the pool, right? Like just
okay.
Like if there's free beer at a tournament like the Caddy tent, right? The PGA is way different than the LPGA, but on the LPGA, if like there was free beer, you would always have that one caddy that would just get snockered and
Yeah.
just make a fool of themselves. And so then it was no more beer in the, caddy area.
It's always
So
someone
it's always
ruining
someone.
it.
Yeah.
Gosh. Michael, give a little feedback on your golf history.
Yeah.
How'd you get into golf?
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 6, and I think the golf course where I grew up, town of about 20,000 people, was kind of the babysitter.
Yeah.
So they just drop us off there and started playing when I was around probably 7.
Hmm.
And then went to college and played college golf at Belmont University in Nashville. Came out here after that and tried to play professionally. Played Dakota Tour in South Dakota, where I'm from, for 2 summers, and then now just became an amateur, but stayed here just because I love the weather.
Yeah.
And I haven't kind of got out of the golf business, so
Yeah.
been in it ever since.
And does golf still bring you joy?
Yes and no. Yeah. It does. I do love it and love to compete, but also trying to find that balance for me. Because at some point, I think in probably all of our golf career or whatever you want to call it, not a career since I'm not a professional, but you become so obsessed with it that you sacrifice other things, and just trying to find the balance now. So for me, that's why I say like my 1 hour a day kind of gets my golf fix.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I got my little taste of it, and now I can kind of have a little bit of a normal life.
Yeah.
That's one thing with golf that's tough is it takes so long.
It does.
You know,
it is a
it's
huge time
around.
commitment.
You're looking like 6 hours if you play 18 holes in a day.
Yeah.
And it's just like, geez, that's a lot of. The older you get, when you're young, you're like, that's nothing. But when you're older, you're like, that's a lot. That's a big part of your day.
Yeah. The amount of time in your day that you have energy shrinks the older you get. I'm like, I'm really good from about 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. and that's it. I'm done. I'm done after 4 p.m. So let's get into the basics then. What is a caddy's job? And will it differ from being at a country club to being with a professional? What do you think?
I would say, yeah. At a country club, for the most part, you either double bag it or you ride in the back of the cart, kind of a forecaddy, right?
Yep.
So, a professional caddy, amateur stat, like doing it, whatever, you're carrying the bag. You're the mule.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever they want in the bag, it's in the bag.
There's no out of the bag.
Yeah.
So is that true, Michael? Are you mostly double bagging it, or are you? What's your norm up there at Silverleaf?
Man, so my course, I like it. I'm a forecaddie, so
Okay.
no double bag.
And you're
I've
just running
I've only
ahead.
double bagged like 2 or 3 times in my life, and
That
I don't
sounds
want to
terrible,
do that.
by the way.
It's terrible.
And
Hard on
I
the
don't
body.
understand why. I mean, other than I guess you get paid maybe a little bit more and get a bigger tip, but why would you want to do a double? Be a caddy that
I don't
does
think
double
you
bag.
want to do it. I think
Yeah.
it's the club. There's no, hey, I really want to double bag these amateurs that have
Oh my God.
20,000 pounds in their bag and they haven't looked inside and there's a banana that's from 3 years ago in here. No, I think, because I did it in one off season. I was going to do it at TPC Scottsdale. And it's their experience, right? But it was like trying to get a club. I just remind me of the scene in Caddyshack where he's like, no, your ball's over here. It's like the old guy, like it's just juggling, trying to get everything everywhere. It's chaotic. It's not worth it for any caddy. I don't think it, but I don't know.
Oh.
No, yeah, I've never done it. I'm not looking forward to doing it either.
Yeah. So what does a forecaddy do then? Because there's a single bag, there's a double bag, there's a forecaddy. So
Yeah.
what's a forecaddy's job for a group of 4?
Yeah, I mean, you run out there on basically every hole other than the par threes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, number one rule off the tee is find the ball.
Yeah.
So if they hit it in the desert, you're going in there to look for it. After that, you're giving yardages, you're raking bunkers, you're filling divots, and then you go up to the green, you're fixing pitch marks, you're reading putts, you're cleaning the ball, and then also you're giving strategy like, hey, take a little more club, a little chilly.
So, and this is because, so most people in your group are riding in carts.
Yeah, it's Silverleaf's really hard to walk.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're riding in carts. You're always one shot ahead of them as far as on the tee. Yeah. And so are you helping all 4 players with yardages and cleaning their ball and giving them a line, or is there usually another forecaddy with you?
No, you're doing it all, and you hope to have players who realize you can't do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't get to one of them, they're fine with it, and then
Because that sounds like a pace of play nightmare.
Yeah. It just, and the thing about caddying too, especially, all of caddying is, like reading putts. Like eventually you want the player to ask you for the read. And sometimes like as a caddy, you can overcaddie.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can be like every putt you're like, hey, that's going left to right.
Yeah.
Sometimes the player wants to trust their own instincts.
Mm-hmm.
And if you throw a little doubt in there, if you say, hey, I think it's breaking a foot, and they think it's 1.5 feet, and then they play a foot and they miss on the low side, they don't play enough break.
Yeah.
Their read was right. I mean, I feel like they're a little chapped. I would be.
Yeah.
So as a caddy, I like to, if I see somewhat similar to what they're seeing, if I say, hey, it's a left edge, or if they say, hey, it's left edge, and I think it's like a little outside, I'd say I like that. Trying to get their confidence
You always
up.
give them the confidence.
Because I don't know what speed they're putting on it either. Like the left edge putt, they could be playing that thing firm, where I'm a die putter and I'm like, hey, you got to play a little more, die it in there.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden they slam it through and they're looking at me. So just try and get close with those things. But I guess back to my point, pace of play is, just read putts when people ask you.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times people can read their own putts.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. I lost my train of thought. Let's talk about the golf bag. Now I remember what I was going to say. What are some questions you ask the members at the beginning of the round? Is there like a 1 or 2 questions? Hey, what's your handicap? What game are we playing? Is there anything in particular that you ask every time?
Usually I ask them if they want what they want in the cart for the cooler. That's kind of what I'm asking. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, that's what I ask.
It's important.
Exactly.
That is very important. And what percentage are asking for alcoholic beverages?
A good percentage. Yeah, exactly.
You're out there to have fun.
Exactly.
Hey.
Yeah. So,
but that's your main concern on the first tee. And then if you don't know them, are you asking them what their index is ever, or can you kind of?
I really don't, to be honest with you. I don't ask. Maybe if I hear they're playing a game on one or something like, okay, it's us 2 against you. Then I'll a couple holes in, I might ask them, hey, what are you playing? What's the match at?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Because I'm sure they like you to get involved and kind of start talking a little bit, or not really.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You kind of have to feel that out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure if you're with another forecaddie too, I would imagine like one caddie's taking one team, the other caddie's taking another. It could be a little competition there.
Yeah. Like we had a club, we got our club match play, 2-man best ball.
Uh-huh.
So we got, in those scenarios, you have 2 caddies. One caddy is for 2 and the other caddy is for the other 2. So you're kind of competing a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your suggestion with the bag? What can we keep in it? What's the best if you're carrying the golf bag?
Yeah.
If a caddy is expected to carry the bag, what should we have in it, and what maybe put
That's
away?
funny you're asking me because I never carry bags. But I'd say put everything you want in that thing.
If it's on the cart, put everything. Yeah. But no, if your caddy's going to carry it, take out the umbrella, take out the rain gear. If it's not going to rain, right? Like if there's 0 chance of rain, take that garbage out.
Take it out.
The umbrella itself weighs like 5 extra pounds, and then everything else. You don't need every golf ball you found in every lake. You can.
Well, and the other thing about extra
balls.
golf balls is when you have a caddy, most likely they're going to find 98% of the balls that you hit. I mean, it's rare that you lose the ball.
In the desert. If you hit a ball in the desert, you come out with like 5 more.
Yeah.
So,
but when was the last time you actually lost a ball? It probably doesn't happen a ton.
I want to be honest here. It does happen. It does. Just because the desert's pretty thick and so it definitely happens. Because the thing about, I guess, desert golf is it's different from like Papago. Hit the desert there. That's like
it's
just
wide open.
It's just the desert.
It's much forgiving.
But you go to some desert courses and it's just like you hit into a bush, and
it's thick.
So a lot of times if you can't see it, then you can't play it.
Yeah.
So it's then you just kind of, a lot of people play like desert
rules.
Like a hazard.
Yeah.
So they just play like a hazard.
So how many times do you see a snake a year in the desert while you're looking for a ball?
Question. I haven't seen one yet this year, but man, in the summer it was maybe once a week, which is kind of scary.
Pay me enough to caddy there then.
Yeah.
I'd be like, it's gone.
Drop one over there, please.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what else? So take out extra balls. Do you use your own rangefinder or do you use someone else's?
Yeah.
So most caddies will always have their own rangefinder, you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
And towels, you'll have your own towel.
Your own towel you're cleaning stuff with.
Yeah.
Like even when my dad caddied for me at the US Mid-Am this year, he's like, I brought my rangefinder. I was like, Dad, I have one. And he's like, no, but I was using the binoculars. So.
Oh yes, man. Tara, as of 6 months ago, had old school like full binocular.
Is that the
GPS.
first rangefinder ever?
With the slope.
Bushnell?
Yeah, the Bushnell with the slope.
I love that.
She donated it to the golf museum.
No, she got a good garage. I'm waiting to write Bushnell and ask him for a refund.
Will you please send me a picture so we can include it in the blog post? Thank you.
For sure.
So, how often are you? Oh, how about this? So, people's number one fear about getting a caddy is I'm not that good, or they're going to judge my swing, or they're going to feel insecure about their golf game with someone basically watching them the entire day. Do you care?
Not at all. Not at all. I think most people, I'd say when they, when you're playing golf, play fast, have fun. If you caddy for someone who's playing fast and having fun, you couldn't care if they shoot 75 or 120.
Yeah.
So.
And do you find that it's also your job to help keep up pace of play too?
Oh, for sure. That's a big part. Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Tara? I mean, it's hard because
I think I've seen it all. Really, I've been playing golf since I was 10. So, almost 33 years of been around the golf industry. I've pretty much seen it all, and nothing's going to surprise me or be like, it's just the game, right? It's a humbling game.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter.
How was it when your player wasn't playing well on the course? Does it become very quiet?
It just depends on the player. Some of them, if they hit a bad shot, it's like, don't talk to me, or I'd try to get them out of it and they would just like keep walking ahead. And I'm like, I can't walk that fast. And then others, we would just like laugh or look in the crowd and be like, oh, look at them. Like, what do you think they're saying over there? It just really depends on the mood, right? Because sometimes it just, like you get to a point where you're playing so bad, it just becomes laughable and you're just like, I can't be mad anymore because this is now becoming hysterical. Like, what's going to be the next thing I do? So,
isn't that funny how it is? It's like you start your round, you're hoping for the best. You're feeling good about your game. It goes sideways, and you go through this time period of just anger, at least for me. And then you almost, if it just continues, then you come out the other side, and you're like, whatever, F it.
Yep.
Or do you want to talk about the Mid-Am last year?
I thought you were going to ask me about that at some point. Yeah.
So, Michael, why don't you share what happened at the Mid-Am, the Arizona Mid-Am last year?
Yeah, Arizona Mid-Am last year. I walked off the course on the second round after 12 holes.
And why'd you do that? Because again, for the listeners, he was on the top of the leaderboard too. Let's at least say you're top 10.
I think I was probably 15th or something. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he was up there. And so I'm like looking, because I'm a scoreboard hawk. I'm always watching. And I'm like, why did Michael Martin not play? And I think I texted you or messaged you that night. I was like, what happened? So what happened out there?
This is like a therapy question.
I know, but we all want to walk off the course at the time at times. And sometimes we do, most times we don't. But what happened? What was going on the course that day?
I think a lot of factors, to be honest with you. I think one that I was working, so I caddy and I valet. So I valet at night.
Okay.
And it was really pretty hot that week. I think it was maybe 105, 110.
It could have been maybe one of the hottest weeks of the summer. It was very hot that weekend.
So I was just running myself too. I'm getting older now. I can't do this. So I was like valet until like 11. Next day I'm, teeing off at 8:30. Did that like 2 nights in a row. I'm driving about an hour down. And I think my body's just kind of like, and I think I was a little frustrated with the AGA was doing they used to do a 3-day Mid-Am. Now they're doing 4. And I was like,
do we really want 4 days?
Yeah, exactly.
No.
And then I think I shot 70 in the first round. So I was pretty happy. And then I was hitting it bad in the second round, but I was still like, I think I was 4 over for the day. So 2 over for the tournament. And I just I think the biggest thing is I do regret it. Wish I wouldn't have done it. So,
really?
Yeah. I wish I wouldn't have done it. So I think I just got down to that negative, spiral ultimately. and just like was just thinking like crap, thinking negatively instead of just, trying to think more positively and going that way. And it just about the 6th hole, I was just like wanting, after every hole, I was like, okay, this is the last hole. It went like that for like 6 holes to finally, I was just like, I'm just doing it.
Yeah.
I just walked off, but I do regret it because I think it can be like a habit, to be honest with you. Like my hope is next time I'm struggling, which is going to happen on the course if I keep playing, that I don't just, you can get that habit of like, well, let's just pack it in again. And all of a sudden,
Absolutely.
like you're packing it in like 3 times a year. So I think you just got to be persevering. Like, hey, I don't pack it in. I'm going to give it all I got. And if I shoot a terrible score, that's what I shoot.
Yeah. Do you think your ego is in the way a little bit? Like do it. Cause putting up a high number doesn't bother you.
Well, I mean, it wasn't even that high, to be honest.
No,
it was
it
gonna
wasn't,
be like 76.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it was more like, and that's why I'm like, I got issues with my swing, to be honest with you. So I just was hitting it so terrible that I was just like, this is, when you're hitting it so bad.
Yeah.
Even though like I was chipping and putting and making par, you're still like, this isn't enjoyable. So
it becomes a grind when you're
and I was just like, geez, I'm just grinding. And so I think that was a factor, was just like, man, I like just hitting it so bad.
Yeah.
And I'm too hard on myself. But I don't think it was ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. I withdrew from that tournament too.
What'd you say?
I withdrew from that
Oh,
tournament.
did you? During or after or before?
Before.
Well, hey, see, if you're going to withdraw, do it before. You know what I mean? Like be like, I don't want to play 4 days. You know what I mean?
So mad at
I was so I don't want to play in that heat.
Yeah.
It was very, very hot. And I think the women the first day had to tee off at like between noon and 1 o'clock. It was tough.
Jeez. For you, it was 3 days, right?
2.
Oh, okay. See, I'd rather, I hate complaining because I know like some of the guys on the AGA and they do a great job. They volunteer their time. But I wish they maybe take a poll and see if people would prefer 4 or 3.
Yeah.
I think most people prefer 3.
Yeah. 4 days of tournament golf in a row does not sound enjoyable under any circumstances. Especially when the course is a little further away than.
Well, maybe at the US Mid-Am, you'd probably want to play 6 or 7 days.
Oh yeah, there. For sure.
Yeah. There's always an exception, right?
Yeah. There is.
Okay, so you guys have seen a lot of golf. You've seen a lot of good golf. You've seen a lot of bad golf. You've seen a lot of mediocre golf. So what would you say to the player out there that can help them in their game? Like what can you say to them that you see all the time? Maybe they are on the verge of giving up or they're getting mad at themselves. Like what advice do you have to the player that, is out there trying to get better and play good golf?
I say this to my father-in-law. Well, 1, like, don't let your ego get in the way. But 2, I usually say, you're not that good to get that mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, get over yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Michael.
Man, I got so many things to say.
Like, what do you see out there that people struggle with the most?
I mean, I think that's a good advice for like the mental game. I think for the golf game, like on the greens is mainly just speed. Putting's mostly about speed, eliminating 3 putts. And then as a caddy, if you have a putt over like maybe 15 feet, I don't think people realize how low a percentage that is to make that putt. Yeah. If you make that and you're a good player, it's almost a bonus.
Oh yeah.
So if you're a 10 handicap and you got a 20 footer and you make that, that's like a maybe a 5% make. So like just lower your expectations on that speed 2 putt. That's going to save you lots of shots.
Yeah.
2 putts are going to save you shots. Cause I was playing, we were playing on Friday and I said to Brandy, if you could just 2 putt every green, you'd play a lot better. Oh, it's the way I hit it. And I was like, for the most part, you hit every green in regulation or you were chipping on. But when you chip on and then you 3 putt, that's a double. But if you chip on and 2 putt, you're making a bogey and you want to be a bogey golfer, right? Like that's, she's right on that borderline. But I'm like, when you hit the green and you only 2 putt, then you're making par. Like it's getting that first putt under control.
Exactly. Exactly. And again, I mean, keeping track of your putts and actually seeing that, having a 3 putt it's not the best. It's not the best. Okay. So let's talk about tipping. So it is confusing. Okay. So it's confusing to have a caddy no matter where you are, whether it's a private club or a public club. You're visiting the town. You've never played the course. It's confusing as to how the caddy gets paid. Is it your understanding that are most caddies independent contractors, or do caddies work for the club? Do they work for another company? What's your take on who the caddy actually works for?
Yeah, I think it's still really for independent contractors.
Okay.
I caddied at TPC for 3 or 4 years too before that. And there you're part of, I forgot what the company's name is, but
it's like a caddy network of some kind.
CMI, Caddy Masters Incorporated, I think.
Okay.
They have maybe like 15 clubs around the country.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little different.
Do they help? Do they train? Is there any training involved, or is it just about getting out there?
So CMI, Caddy Masters Incorporated, trains you for sure. And I think they're letting in maybe people who aren't, maybe they're not low handicaps, but I mean, you don't have to be a low handicap to be a good caddy, right? I mean, there's a lot of good caddies who are bogey golfers, but they're great caddies. Mm-hmm. So I think they train you. And then I think at Silverleaf, it was more, you got to probably have more experience there, and definitely in the golf business. You're not going to Silverleaf like, off the streets. You're not like, hey, what's your history? Oh, I've never played golf, but I watched the Masters. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden they're like letting you out there caddying. Yeah. You got to have a history. And a lot of the guys we got a lot of guys that are trying to play professionally. Mm-hmm. So they've been around golf their whole life.
So what do you find that a lot of the caddies out there right now? So we're in Phoenix, Scottsdale, a golf hub of the entire country. And so there's caddies all over the place. Are most of them trying to still play golf and still, excel at their game?
Yeah, I'd say probably, just rough estimate of half of them are still trying to play.
Yeah.
This is their time, I think, to make money. And then in the summer, they try and go play. Just because a lot, Silverleaf's a little slower, just it's so hot out. Yeah. And so they'll, practice and work right now. And then in the summer, they'll go play.
And I think it helps some clubs, or most clubs, that they'll let the caddies certain hours go hit balls or whatever, right? Like you can have a little bit of practice access, right? That you don't normally get. Just, it depends on the club. But there is time where you get that playing privilege every once in a while. So,
yeah. So when we're talking about the payment for caddies, I would say probably the best advice, and unfortunately there's no definitive answer with this, is probably just to go to the pro shop, ask them, hey, how do caddies get paid? Am I paying a base plus tip? Are you charging the base and then I'm just tipping them after? Like, really ask as many questions as possible, including, okay, what's a good tip? And they'll usually give you a dollar amount.
I think it usually comes down to, one, does your club make you take a caddy? 2, is the caddy there and it's an option? Because there's some clubs that have caddies, but they also have carts, so you don't have to take a caddy. So if you want to take a caddy, you already know their rate, right? What they are. And then I would say, as a single, it really just depends on where you're at and who you're, who you're around. Like at 2, if you're caddying for 2, I would say, somewhere in the upper, like $100 would be a good tip for a caddy for 18 holes for, at least 2 people.
Yeah. And that time when you finish the round and it's like that awkward time, like, am I paying him? No. Is he carrying my bag? What's the process like when you finish the round?
Again, it depends, right? Yeah. At Silverleaf, I'm guessing most of the guys just leave their clubs there, so you don't have to do anything. I was at a club in Idaho where it was kind of the same thing, but they always made sure, you ask permission to leave. Like, are you good? Can I leave? Sort of thing. It's the caddy. You should dismiss them. They shouldn't just be like, peace out, see ya. And part of that is you stand around that awkward, and waiting for the keys to, get So you just say, thanks, I had fun, and give them a tip. So, and I think that they would take anything. $20 would be fine. $100 is great, whatever, but it's really what you're comfortable with and what your economic situation is. But I think at more privileged clubs, I think, I don't think $100 tip is outlandish. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you not get that?
Yeah.
Do you not get that tip?
I'll take the fifth on that question.
I would say usually it's more, but for like a woman starting out, men, I would say probably are a little bit bigger tippers, than the women, but I don't know. That's my opinion.
Well, and again, so when I finish a round and I have a caddy, I'll usually on the 18th green be like, okay, don't run away. I'm going to take care of you, because there's usually like hustle and bustle. We're anteing up the game that we're playing. Mm-hmm. We're seeing what everyone's doing after. And it's usually kind of like with the walk back to wherever the bag drop is. And that's usually where I give the tip.
Yeah. When on the tour, when we would caddy in the pro-ams, we would, sometimes they would have their own caddies and sometimes they wouldn't. You could get upwards into $1,000 tip for the day.
Yeah.
Like just, 4 guys out there in a pro-am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're cleaning your own, you're doing everything for your player and then you're running around and I was chasing their balls too, like getting them all on the green, keeping them up to pace. And it wasn't always like that, but the tip is really up to the person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
There's no minimum, but I would say $20 at least for 18 holes.
Well, my
It's only
impression
$1 hole.
is that the caddies don't really want to put a number out there because let's say you say $50 is a good tip, but the guy was willing to give you $200.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to, sell yourself short.
That's why he's pleading the fifth. That's his job right now.
Exactly. But I guess is there always a base paid? Is that pretty consistent?
On the tour, there's usually a base pay for the week with your player, but and clubs, if you take a caddy, I think the club charges you X amount of dollars. So, but I don't know if it's a mandatory caddy. I don't know those situations.
Yeah.
I think I don't even really know the base pay. I think it's just from club to club, and I think if it's a lot different if you're at like a public course to private, because if you're at TPC, you're getting someone that might be the only time they play there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you're a member at a club, my guess is you're probably gonna you want to be good with everyone there.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna really tip below the base.
Mm-hmm.
So I think ask the golf shop, hey, what's a good tip, or what's a minimum? What's a good tip?
Yeah.
And I think it's good to like tip off, the quality of the service, because then hopefully you're training the caddy like, hey, if they can look back and I didn't get paid well, hopefully they like have a self-reflecting and going like, man, I didn't really do a good job that day in one area, and then they go, well, if I got to pick it up if I want to make more money.
Yeah.
So
okay, so what about caddying for a professional?
Yeah, so there's a base pay, right? So much per week. And then you get a percentage if they make the cut. You get, it was, I think like 5% if they make, 8% if top 10, 10% if they win. I think that it's kind of gone up. I think it's 10 or 12. It might be now like 12, 10, 8, something like that. It's also all negotiable. You can negotiate with your player. You pay for all international flights, or can you pay for all flights, or, it's, you're selling yourself, right? Like, here's what I'm worth to you, and you go from there. So, but there is a standard rate of every caddy each week gets this, regardless if you make the cut or not. And then I know players in the upper echelon, and you probably see this more on the PGA Tour, they're just on salary. So player makes so much money that they get a weekly salary, or, it's no longer a base. And so, I'm sure you get stuff on top of that. And then the big thing usually is, if you're with a person through the end of the year, that cat or that player usually will like tip them for Christmas. Like they'll get a little bonus at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So
what is the most annoying thing a player can do other than not tip well? Let's set that aside. What's the most annoying thing a player can do while you're caddying for them during a round?
I just think of it as like when I did pro-ams, that there would be a guy, he was usually a dude, that would act like he knew everything about the golf course and he'd never played there in his life. Or he would think that he's like the best golfer in the world, and because the LPGA player is hitting a 6-iron, he has to hit a 6-iron, and it's like, dude, you should be hitting a 4-iron. But you guys are playing the same tees, and she's out driven you like 40 yards all day. But it's just getting that ego in the way and thinking that they're better than they are. It goes back to that. That's probably the most annoying, is when it's just like, you can't get it there with that. But if you want to hit it, go ahead. Like,
Yeah.
Man, I think, I always break it down into like, you got high maintenance, low maintenance, and then you got high pay, low pay. And the worst thing you can be is, low pay, high maintenance. So,
I like that.
So I just say, that, kind of, blaming too much on the caddy, maybe for bad shots or if you miss a 15-footer. Those are the things more get on your nerves.
But that happens.
Yeah.
Like,
and
players will be like,
totally.
that is your fault.
Well, and even the
I
best
don't pull
players,
the trigger, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But even the best player, like Jack Nicklaus, I heard always get mad at his caddy. So as a caddy, you got to kind of somewhat have thick skins. But after a while, especially if the player is not that good and they are, blaming you, that's when it can wear on you. But as a caddy, you gotta eat it,
Yeah.
So
Would you rather caddy for a 20 index or a 5 index, or does it not matter?
Again, it just matters, more pace of play and their personality.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, I gotta say, I get a caddy every opportunity I can. When it's definitely a new course I've played, or I'm coming from out of town. It is, in my opinion, some of the most fun rounds I've had as a player. Tara, you had your dad caddy for you at the US Mid-Am this past summer.
Yep.
How was that, having your dad caddy for you?
It was good. I was I felt like I had to get over it because he took a cart. And as you know, in USGA, usually caddies don't take a cart. But he got medically cleared to take a cart. So I kind of had to get over that stigma that here's my lone dad just driving a cart and nobody else did. But I got over it when I saw some other girl have a caddy with a cart. So I was like, yes, I'm not the only one. But it was good. There was definitely specific rules. And that was something that we worried about more than like if you just had a caddy. But it was funny because we had to talk ourselves into different definitions of the rules, because they had push carts and they had the Sun Mountain push carts, but they had like the big baskets. Like the baskets were like this on like the top, and then on the bottom they had another big basket. And so it was raining, and so my dad took a bag and that had some towels, and like I think his rain gear was in there because it wouldn't fit in my bag. And the rules stated you can only take what you can fit in your bag, and you can't use the cart as an advantage. Well, I was like, technically, those girls are pushing a cart with a basket. Yeah. And we have a basket on the back. So we did nothing more than, so I went and took my bag and I put it in the back of the push carts, because they had a bunch of them in the caddy or in the club storage area. And I was like, it fits in that cart. It can fit in ours. So like, because I was like, there's no advantage. We can't take 25 extra water bottles. We can't do this. We can't do that. Because I didn't want the advantage, because it's a loss of strokes or whatever. I didn't want to get a penalty. I didn't want to get a penalty on myself. So to me, that was all the things I was thinking about with him caddying with a cart, was that I didn't want to get that penalty for an advantage. Yeah. Yeah. But no, it was good. It was nice to have my dad. We have very similar games. And my mom lectured him before we played, not to get on me about things. So he was positive the whole time and didn't say, "Oh, you're taking it outside," or "Oh, no." I don't know. So he was good. He was more. When I played with him a couple weeks ago, I was like, I liked it when you caddied, because I got the talk. I'm like, I know.
Michael is getting to another USGA Mid-Am on your goal list still.
Oh yeah, I think this year it's at Sleepy Hollow, which I've heard is amazing. The pictures are beautiful, so that's kind of the number one goal for this year if I could qualify.
I love it.
Is your qualifier 1 day or 2, or like 36?
Day, 18 holes. Yep.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Well, again, I personally think that having a caddy is so much fun. Last but not least, Tara and Michael, what is your number one advice to someone that has never gotten a caddy before? They're going this weekend. They're going to have a caddy. They're a little nervous. What's your number one advice for them?
Have fun. You have somebody to talk to. Caddies will, sometimes let loose. They'll see your nervousness, and not use them and abuse them, but ask them all the questions that you have, right?
Yeah.
Especially if it's a course you've never played and they are caddying out there regularly. Don't be afraid to be like, where do I hit this? Is this going to break a little bit left to right? Because I see it right to left. You know, you don't have to ask for that specific line. Just be like, you know, which way is this going?
Yeah.
You don't have to be like, I need the exact blade of grass that it's going to break over, but just use them. You got them, use them. So you'll get something out of it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Have fun, play fast. And if you think you're embarrassed by your swing or you're not good enough, like, trust me, they've probably seen worse. So,
and you've seen it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thanks for being on the show today,
Thanks,
you
Tori.
guys. I appreciate it. And best of luck in 2023. Tara, you want to give me an uncomfortable goal that you have for 2023?
It was to qualify for 2 USGA events, but that's not going to happen. So I'll scoot it down.
Come on.
I'm working too much. So yeah, I would like to, the ultimate goal would be, let's see, Shannon and I win Desante Bay. I'm going to throw that out there.
Boom.
Just going down to Desante Bay, probably get some rust off the clubs and then get into summer and see where my schedule goes. And I would love to qualify for the Mid-Am again.
I love it. Well, Michael, good luck with your qualifying, and thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Be sure to check out the show notes for all the details on today's show. If you haven't already, please give a 5-star written review on your favorite podcast platform, or even screenshot this episode and send it to your golf buddies. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you on the first tee in a couple days.